everyone, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I'm one of your hosts, David Gusler, and I'm here with my good buddy. And of course, he's wearing the newest kit, Matt Swift. So, Matt, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited about a victory and good to be on with you guys.
Yeah, man. So it's a Victory Monday. We're excited to be here to actually talk about Charlotte FC, and we walked away with 3 points this past week, man. So how are you feeling 48 hours after the latest win in Bank of America Stadium?
It wasn't a convincing win as much as I would have liked. We didn't play as decisive as I would have liked against a depleted Toronto team. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we did the things that we've needed to do, right? Things that have been plaguing us. Our shots were low. They were on target. We made a team pay for making a mistake. And for once, like our subs finally made a impact. It checked all the boxes for me this match. So I'm just excited to celebrate 3 points.
Yeah, I know. I put on Twitter, it was great to see the team battle back in a game like this because if you go back 365 days ago, us going up a goal early and then going at and getting I want to call them garbage goals, but they were kind of garbage goals by Toronto. We would have totally folded and lost that game. It'd have been super frustrating to see them do that. But here we are now, 2024. Dean Smith coach team, and it's a different story. And it was nice to see the team kind of, I don't want to say have a full performance, but we actually finished a game fully, and we actually finished shots. So Swift, what'd you think about some of the performance of some of the guys? So I we did see some starters change up a little bit this game. Like you had Enzo Copetti start in this game versus Pat Ajamain. You had Bill Tuiluma start this game versus Malanda as he was hurt. What'd you think about some of those? I mean, it feels weird saying Enzo Copetti is not a starter, but what do you think about these starter changes for this game against Toronto?
Yeah, I thought Enzo would start. The surprise for me was Scott Arfield. I wasn't expecting that, and that's not something that I heard. But it's good that he got his chance. And he had a couple of good moments. I don't think he had a fantastic performance. I don't think it was anything that's going to make me change my mind of him over Brecht. So yeah, a little surprise there. But yeah, like you were saying, Bill comes in for Malanda. Jalen Lindsey's back at right back. You got Vargas on the left, Abada on the right. So, but other than the Arfield change, I was pretty good with everything and kind of liked what we were doing. But again, like I think the subs really finally made an impact in this game. But one of the folks that has really needed to have a good game was Vargas. He looked really, really good. Outside of those goals too, he had a kind of an early chance too that he almost scored.
Yep.
So yeah, he looked lively. He looked like his old self. And again, I think he just needed this game to like really get going. But like his shots were really great, and like I just love that you could tell like there's been an emphasis on keep it low, get him on target. Yeah, because I think after he had that first shot that was low, that was close, I think he had another one that was on target. So yeah, he just looked really good.
Yeah, he was actually the highest rated player on the field for that game from FootMob with 8.4. He had 4 shots in this game, which is much better. I remember a few weeks ago, a friend of ours, Jake, put a little money on the line to say that Vargas needed to have 1 shot on goal, and he even get that 1 shot on goal. In this game, he got 4 in just this game alone. So it seemed like confidence was there. It seemed like once he got that goal, he got that. I don't want to say like the monkey off his back, but he seemed more confident. He seemed, present. He seemed able to play a complete game, which was nice, which is the Vargas we saw close out the end of the season last year, right?
Yeah, the goal that he scored, I really, really like because, this starts from a long ball from Bill, and it kind of gets I don't know if like Capetti headed this down. I think maybe he did. But it falls to Vargas, who he anticipates this ball really well. He runs onto it and he has conviction, and he strikes this really, really well. So it was a lot of things, like not just the strike itself, it's the the awareness and anticipating that ball falling like that. So it's just really, really good to see.
What did you think about? I don't want to throw him in the bus per se, because I know a lot of people are very opinionated on Bill. But what did you think about Bill's performance coming in as a sub, first time starting? I want to say like since June or July of last year for the team. So, um, what did you think about his performance in this game?
Not horrible, but not great. Um, the the first goal that Toronto got, Bill, I think he was in two frames of mind. I think he was trying to catch Toronto in an offside trap. Um, I think he was watching the ball a little bit too much, and he allows a runner kind of to get in front of him, and he didn't pick that up soon enough. So that's kind of one mistake. And then he does this thing where he's trying to step, but also guard at the same time, and he misreads the whole entire situation, which is not great. But I think overall he played decent enough. And again, this is a player that has not played for a very, very long time, and he's coming in for Malanda, and unfortunately, he made a few little mistakes. But again, I just referenced the Vargas goal. I mean, he launches that great ball forward. So um, there's good with the bad. I'm willing to give Bill more chances, and he's going to get more chances. And it's good that we have somebody that can come off the bench. But I don't feel comfortable with him starting at all, really, at this point.
Yeah, he kind of you kind of touched on it. He kind of played like a player who hasn't played or started in quite a while. Wasn't terrible. Wasn't the reason why
Yeah.
we could have lost the game or won the game, etc. But also wasn't like earth shattering. And anytime you come in and you have to replace a player like Malanda, who is arguably one of our top 2, 3 players on the team, people are going to compare you to him. It's gonna be really hard to kind of fill those shoes at times, right? But I mean, there was times where Bill had really good long balls and um,
Mm.
was able to help potentially free up Abada's second goal or first goal, which
Mhm.
didn't really count. But it is what it is. But I just wanted to
Yeah.
get your thoughts on Bill. But how about our newest DP? Leo Abada. What do you think about his performance and really making an impact already?
He's the real deal. He's someone that you're going to stand and get out of your seat for when he starts dribbling with the ball. Um, every time he touched it, I was up on my feet, excited because you kind of feel something's going to happen, and we really haven't had that type of player really. To a certain extent, I think Swiderski, for me at least, kind of would do that some. But Abada looks just so dangerous on the ball, and just can take it and drive and is a little fearless. So that's what I really, really like. I thought he played fantastic. He should have had 2 goals, but hey, what I like too, again, is that he's the type of player that when Toronto made that mistake right in the back, he pounced on it, and you could see he's the type of player that you pay because he can make those finishes. Most of the time, we've been missing those opportunities. That shot was not easy, but again, he was composed, kept it on the ground, went back post with it, and scored his goal. And I'm just really, really glad. I'm so unbelievably pumped to have him on this team.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Johnson's a good goalkeeper too, and I mean, he made
Mhm,
him in that situation like there really wasn't much of an angle that he was able to. He pounced on a good mistake from Toronto, but there really wasn't that much of a good angle. I remember seeing the replay from behind the
mhm,
goal, and Sean Johnson kind of closed it off pretty well, except for the far post, which I guess you're really supposed to do. And
mhm,
I mean, luckily our guy was able to finish it, which is great. Love the celebration. I know he was pumped about it. I know, and I think it was either post game or online or something like that. But he even mentioned that he needed that goal personally, just because of everything that was going on from his former
sure.
team and coming over
Mhm.
here to a new team. That was just it felt like a lift of emotion for him. And that's why he took the shirt off and celebrated. He knew he was going to get a yellow card for it, but he felt
Yeah.
pumped from that situation for sure.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of players Saturday night had a lot of weight lifted off of him, and that's really good to kind of feel and see, and certainly for him with his situation and coming here to a brand new side, not sure, what he's getting into, and to be able to contribute really early, and the fans really, really get behind him. They're really excited about him. Like, everybody in my section around was just like, "Oh my god, that guy's good." And because there's definitely some people in my section that are new to soccer, right? And like there's a couple that this is their first season coming to games, and they were just like, "Man, that guy's good." And I'm like, "Yep, he's hold on to your hold on to your seats, man. He's going to show you something this season." So it's amazing to see.
How nice is it to have a DP that's able to do that potentially? And I'm not sitting here expecting him to put a goal every single game. But remember last time we played Toronto, we lost because of a single action that a DP
Mhm.
was able to do to change the game. Insigne, right? And scored on like
Yep.
a .02 expected goal. Abada's expected goal, I know you may not be a big fan of expected goals, but it was a .14. So he still
Yeah.
scored. And that's not including the crazy free kick goal that should have been a goal for him to
Right.
volley that in such a calm manner and
Mhm.
basically almost score and then recover off of the post and get it back in net again. And that's
Yeah.
like to see that and having someone to be a game changer is going to be huge for the club.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you pay him the money that you do, and it's starting to, no pun intended, pay off. Yeah, it's and pay off early too. We're not sitting here having this conversation like, oh, we got to give him time to get acclimated. We got to give him this and that. He's jumped right in and has shown his quality and his worth, and it's making the front office look pretty good. And I'm sure they like that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they feel really great right now. So so speaking of those subs making an impact, and not to go player by player, but you had Breck DeHajere come in and make a sub and make an impact with an assist. You had Patrick Agermain obviously benefit from that assist to make a beautiful goal, crashing the box and really take the lead for the team. What do you think about those two in particular? I know we've been kind of critical on Brecht on Soccer and Coffee before the game. What do you think about his performance coming on, and did he make an impact from your perspective as well?
Yeah, again, someone who really needed this performance. He comes in as a sub. I'm sure he was kind of like, "Hey, why did I get dropped?" But he comes in the second half and does what he's supposed to do with that number 10 on his back. Uh, let's not forget that he got that ball from Jalen Lindsay, which was amazing. But once he gets it, he does what he needs to do. Patrick Agamang does what he needs to do. He makes that near post run and uses those big long legs of his, and really stretches out and makes an incredible effort to get onto this ball. So just all around, like it starts with Jalen with that heads up play, being able to get that ball. I think it was off of a corner. It kind of, Jalen tracks this down. He has to shield the ball. He could have easily gone backwards, but he was smart enough to know that he had Breck behind him, makes that play into space. Breck gets it, makes puts in a great ball, low driven, and like I said, Patrick just makes a really good run and just an all around good hustle play that just had a lot of heart. And I think that kind of sums up the night is like we played with heart. We didn't play our best game, but we did enough to win, and that's all you got to do.
Yeah, Jalen had the hockey assist there, right? Like the assist to the assist, and was able
Yeah.
to help support that a little bit. And I think that's also just being game situational awareness a little bit, right? Like Toronto was a little bit thin. They were playing wing backs. They were trying to press a little bit more out of those wings and pushing people forward. And Jalen was able to understand and read that and know that, hey, their guys swinging upwards, trying to press this a little bit, and I'm going to kick it down the corner because I know there's not going to be much defensive players back there. And Brecht read it well, came in and really helped cross that across the box in a really good fashion, of course, as well. Wasn't just this lob across the box, praying and hoping for a header. It was very direct into the box, into the goal, low again, just like you
Yep.
mentioned earlier. And it was nice because if you hit it low sometimes like that, yeah, you may not be able to get across all the time, but it creates chaos in there with all those legs
It,
and bodies in the box.
exactly. That could have very easily been an own goal too. That's the thing. You hit it low, hit it hard, and a lot of good things can happen there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like how Toronto scored against us, right? Like you had a deflection into the box, Guy just
Yeah.
happened to be there and poach that. The second goal, the
Yeah.
first, I mean, they put
Yeah.
the ball in the box pretty well, and they scored off of that same kind of manner, right? I mean, Prince had two, I don't want to say like gimme goals, but it was just right place, the
Yeah.
right time against Charlotte there.
Yeah, he was super lucky. That second goal is just pure unluckiness. Jalen does a good job of blocking that initial shot. I will say at first, I think Jalen was a little too pinched in there, but he did recover quickly, block that shot, and just the deflection just fell to that dude. And like, give me a break. So, but the thing is like when we fell down the first time, I was like, all right, no, we're good. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be okay. We got that second goal, and I'm like, yes, we're rolling. When they scored that second goal, though, I'm like, oh, this could be that could be it. That could be because it was getting late in the game too. I was like, that might deflate the team. But to our credit, man, like I said, we play with a lot of grit and heart, and I just love it.
Yeah, I mean, they scored 79th or 80th minute, I believe. So, I mean, it
Yeah.
only gave us 20 minutes to basically score, and then we scored, let's see here, at the 85th minute. So, quick
Mhm.
answer, 5, 6 minutes later. It's great to see that. Charlotte remains unbeaten, and I think what 13 matches at Bank of America. That's a pretty significant and pretty good stat to have on your back there when it comes to a soccer team, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think kudos to the supporters and the fans in the stadium, but Charlotte's a tough team to play at home.
That's right. I think the atmosphere makes it really, really tough, and the players get pumped up for it. Um, Got to turn some of those draws into wins, but hey, man, like that's a really good record to have at home.
Hey, it's a kind of a picking stat a little bit, right? It's unbeaten, but it's
Hey,
it's
that's all
like
right.
it is. It's like the Panthers when they announce 50 years of sold out games, but it's because they have PSLs and
Yeah.
it's like when there's no one in the stadium, it's like it's a sellout. Well, is it
I
really a
mean,
sellout?
well,
No, I'm just joking.
I mean,
Yeah,
it kind of is if like whatever, if like the Steelers or the Cowboys are in town, it's definitely a sellout, but it's not for
that's true.
our fans.
That's true. But no, definitely not trying to take away from that stat because it is a
Yeah.
good stat to be able to say that, hey, we're unbeaten in 13 games. And I think it's one or two more if you think about it, if you include Leagues Cup and
Mm.
non MLS matches there within that space too. So um, anything else that kind of stood out to you from the game itself? I mean, I know the subs made an impact. It was glad to see the boys kind of fight back and be able to take a win from home. Anything else that stood out to you from that game itself?
No, I thought Westwood played well. I thought Gianni played well. I thought we did well. For the most part, we contained Bernadeschi. There were a few chances that he has, but I mean, he's that type of player that he's gonna get a few chances anyway. Um, but yeah, no. Other than that, I was relatively pleased with everything, and I guess it's a lot better because we won.
I was gonna say we'd be in a different mindset right here if we walked away with a draw in that game or a loss potentially, right?
Yeah, I do think especially that second goal, we were just unlucky there. There's really not much you can do there. That first goal, like I said, I think Bill just kind of was in two frames of mind and just kind of got caught out a little bit. But yeah, I thought we did pretty good.
So I know I mentioned it to you or tweeted it out earlier too, but Charlotte's in a really good spot right here. They're currently sitting at seventh right now on MLS table. Not to get into your preview show because I know you're going to drop that episode later in the week with your breakdown against Minnesota, but Charlotte right now sits with 11 points, tied with Atlanta at 6. Right, the difference between first and second place and sixth place is 15 points versus 11 points. Charlotte's got 5 games out of the next 7 at home. How
Mhm.
important is the next 6, 7 weeks for Charlotte to make an impact, to make a run here the next few weeks?
It's paramount. I mean, you've got to get the most out of these home games. Um, Keep that unbeaten streak alive. You don't necessarily we need to win all of them, yeah, but, like, if we were to tie one here and there, that's great, but, yeah, just keep that streak alive, keep playing well, make the most of our opportunities, because I feel like now we're a team that we can pick up some points on the road. So, but it's good to have this home stretch, it's important, it's crucial, so you gotta make the most out of it and get the max points that you can.
Yeah, it's kind of like a different mindset shift a little bit from the start of the season, right? Like we were like, hey, we've got 3 or 4 weeks in a row that we're on the road, which is hopefully get a draw. Let's get some
Yeah.
points on the road so we don't get behind. But now we have to kind of have that shift mindset. It's like we can't have anything less than a draw at home. We really need to make sure these teams can't come in and steal 3 points away from us because it's already hard to win on the road to MLS while we have a better chance. How great would it be to say, okay, the next 5 home games, we walk away with 15 points? Like that would be huge
Yeah.
for Charlotte.
Yeah, it's not an easy task, but you win your home games, you're pretty solid. And with this stretch, I think we can go a long way in doing that. And like I said, like I think there's definitely some away matches that we can get some points from.
Yeah, I won't say it's an easy stretch, but I mean it's a pretty tough stretch here. You got Minnesota at home, Portland at home, Nashville at home, LA Galaxy at home, Philadelphia at home, all throughout between now and the end of May. So that's a
Yeah.
pretty stout little stretch there at home.
Yeah, and some of those are Western Conference foes, so it's good to have them at home, right? And play them at home and get those points because while those games are going on, you're going to have Eastern Conference teams tackling each other. So it's good to have those Western Conference opponents in our house.
How do you feel about a Sunday 6 p.m. game though? Just as a fan.
Not a fan of it. I mean, a lot of fans have been saying like, "Hey, I wish they changed up the times and days so we can watch them." So maybe it's okay. I just don't love it, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I guess this is just me being a selfish fan. I want variety, but I want variety on Saturday and early Sunday, especially if someone's driving 2 hours one way and then 2 hours back after the game, like a 6
Yeah,
p.m. game on a Sunday, and I've got work Monday morning. Like, ugh, that's not
yeah,
great.
yeah. That's tough.
I see Corey in the background nodding his head. I'm sure as a parent and someone that has to work on Monday too, it's like, yep, nope, that's not going to be super fun. So for all of us involved here, I'm sure it's not going to be great, but we'll still be there, right, Swift?
That's right. I'll be there.
Awesome, man. So, any other final thoughts before you bring Corey on for some Q&A here?
No, let's do it.
Awesome.
I do have to say that the only good thing about the 6 p.m. game, I don't like it being on a Sunday, but we're planning to bring both kids because it's a slightly earlier kickoff, so like bedtime's a little easier. I brought our 6-year-old to the match on Saturday, and she's been a bunch of times, like over the past few years. But we're planning to bring the 3-year-old on Sunday since it's a little bit earlier.
Nice.
It's not encroaching as much on that bedtime. But yeah, like a 3 p.m. Saturday would be great. Like that,
Yeah.
I would love to mix it up with some like mid-afternoon Saturday matches. 6 p.m. on a Sunday isn't ideal, but that's the one bonus.
Well, it's not even like Minnesota's really that big of a time change, right? Like it's not like it's like LA or Portland that has a 3-hour time difference. It's Minnesota. It's like an hour, right? So
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. Exactly. All right. We ready for some questions?
Let's do it.
You ready to answer questions?
Yeah.
All right. Y'all already talked about this, and I thought about throwing it up while y'all were talking, but I just love the way this question is phrased so much. So from Matt Chantry, on a scale of 1 to going on a date with Margot Robbie, how hyped are you about Leah Lopata right now? I don't know if we need to talk more about it because y'all already answered the question, so maybe I'll weigh in real quick. I mean, I agree that everyone I talk to about him, it's the energy as soon as he touches the ball is just totally different than what we've had in general for Charlotte. And I think everybody, soccer fans and non-longtime soccer fans alike see like, oh, this guy's something special. So I think he's I don't know. I would say he's a full-on date with Margot Robbie at this point. I don't know. As far as how excited I am to actually answer the premise.
I think we all would agree that that's the level of excitement that we're at there.
Yeah, for sure.
As we say, it's 3 married men. That's fun. All right, so let's move on to the next question before we get in trouble. Jeff Eklund asks thoughts on the whole Emmanuel Reynoso situation and how you would handle it if this player was on our team. Does anybody want to jump in with this one? I don't want to call on somebody unless you just have thoughts.
I mean, I wouldn't have him on our team because I think this is like the second or third time that he just doesn't report to the team and has just missing potentially. Like that's just crazy to me that as a professional footballer or soccer player that you just don't report to your team, or you just go missing for extended period of time and then just magically show back up and go, okay, I'm here to play now. Okay, we're good. So I don't know. It seems like a terrible situation for the team and fans. What about you, Swift?
Yeah, no, he's no Dennis Rodman. He can't get away with that. Because I think Rodman was notorious for maybe doing that. But yeah, you can't have that on your squad. It doesn't set a good example for the younger players. And um, how would the rules apply to anybody if you don't apply them to everyone?
So I just had to look this up. Just here's some personal life things from him on Wikipedia. 2014, he was shot in the leg. In December of 2021, he allegedly was arrested for hitting a teenager in Argentina. And then in 2023, he was suspended without pay because he missed the first 10 games into the season because he just didn't report to the team. Like, get rid of that player. Like, why would you hold on to that player?
Yeah, yeah. There's something strange there, and like you can't do that as a coach, owner. If I'm the coach, I'm like, yeah, no, you're done. So
Yeah.
it's very strange that they've continued on with that. So isn't it great that we don't have a situation like that? And it
I'm
just goes to
surprised
show
that
you that other teams do
Right.
have situations like that.
Yep. All right, let's move on. I'm gonna kind of jump around a little bit. There's a handful of questions about defense in the back line. So I don't know if we won't do these all together. I'll kind of go one at a time on these. So the first one's from Russell Varner. He says, after Saturday, how concerned are you about the defense without Malanda? How about you, Matt? I'll start with you.
I think, well, I think Bill's the one that, we're kind of a little worried about, but this will be his second game now. So I actually feel a little bit better. I think he'll definitely learn from that mistake too and be a little more decisive on some of those situations. So I actually feel a little bit better if Malanda can't go next Sunday. So, yeah.
How about you, Dave?
Yeah, I feel about the same as I did this past game. Like it is what it is. I can't get any better or worse, I guess. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you have Pedro that could just come in and move Privet over or anything like that. Like it just wouldn't make sense. So, that I think he'll be fine. Again, he's experienced MLS. He's an experienced player. He's obviously got talent. He plays for his national team. So,
yeah,
be fine. As a best case scenario, we got someone that's experienced that can fill in, which is good.
Yeah. So to bounce off that, because the next question I was going to jump to related to all this was from Stuart Jones, who says, let's talk back line. First part of the question is, do we expect either Byrne or Malanda back this weekend? This might be one of those questions that stay tuned for the preview episode later this week. But if we know anything now, do we expect either of them back? And if no, is Bill and Jalen our best option for filling those two gaps? David, you want to expand on what you're saying?
Well, I don't know anything about Malanda being out this weekend. Swift could probably touch on that if he knows anything more so than I do. But Byrne, same thing. I don't know. I know he was having green card issues, but I would say Bill and Jalen are the best options to fill in if they're not there again, to be honest with you. So Jalen's played fine, I think, overall.
Yeah. We'll probably know more Thursday or Friday if Malanda and Byrne are ready to go. I would say more so Byrne because it's not an injury. It's just a green card process that he's just trying to get situated. So,
yeah, I would say the only thing I'd add talking about those two, because for the first question being nervous about just no Malanda, like that makes me a little nervous. But like I think having both of them out on Saturday and I don't know if it was just my perception or if it was actually shakier than it normally was, but it just felt like the back line was shakier having both of them out at the same time when they've both been playing so well. So if we can get one of them back or both of them back, I feel like a little bit better, and having Bill actually having some experience back there will be better too. But it did just feel a little bit shakier on some of those chances for New England, but that could just be my perception too.
No, and that should put some perspective too on this game too, that we got through a game where we had two starters out on the back line. So that's good stuff too, right?
Yeah. All right. Related. I think this is our last defensive question. If I forgot one, I'll come back to it later. But again, from Stewart, he says, is the right back space getting interesting as Jalen comes back on form, or does Byrne automatically get the nod starting for the rest of the season? I think it's kind of hard to go out for the whole season, but at least maybe short term looking now, has Byrne done enough to solidify his spot over Jalen, even though Jalen's been playing well recently? Matt, any thoughts?
I think for this week, it just depends on
Yeah.
is Byrne able to train, get back with the team. I think long term, it's Byrne's position. Keep in mind, Jalen's still very young, so he has time to learn under Byrne, still get playing minutes and everything like that. And I'm a big fan of Jalen. When he comes in, he does great. I'm super happy with him. But there's more time with him. Byrne's older, right? So I think it's Byrne's position for now. But anything can change, so we'll see.
Yeah. David, any other thoughts?
Agreed. No, just yep, good.
Yes. Next question. All right. So let's Russell asked several questions. So I'm gonna go back to Russell. Again, kind of
He always does. I
looking at-
love it.
I love it. Russell's the best. We need to get him back on the show again soon.
Yeah.
And one of them is the fun one. So I'm saving the fun one for later, but I'll ask his two other player related questions for right now. So his first one is the winger issue solved with Abada out right and Vargas out left? He says, but in parentheses, though I did notice they switched at least once in the second half. So do you think those positions are solid with what we see right now? Both of you are nodding your heads, so you think that's pretty much it?
I mean, I would say so, unless bearing an injury or something like that, or a player getting sold, etc. But at Swift, I know we were talking on Slack or a few other things, but now we actually have some depth. But like, what do you think about a player like Tavarsh now? Right? Like, where does he fit into the picture?
So I think the switch and kind of a little bit to this question is defense. How are they defensively? And I think that's why you saw a switch. That's also probably why you haven't seen Tavarsh as much. I think offensively he's good. I think where he lacks is his defense. And with the way Dean is playing, you're going to have to do both. You can't just, just play offensively. I say that, given like I look at Abada, like you're probably not going to get a ton of defensive cover, but he makes up for it with his offense, and that's okay. I mean, there's players like that on every single team. I look at Carlos Hill. That dude ain't going to play defense. He's only out there for offense. But I think the way we're structured and set up right now, I think that's why you see the players out there. But I do think that's why you saw the switch, because Vargas, to his credit, has been playing very good defensively. He's got that motor. He's got that speed. He can track back. So I think that's why you maybe saw that little switch there. I could be wrong, but I think that's why you saw it.
Yeah. Let's move on. Trying to figure out what order I want to do things in, as always. But we have, as should be no surprise, we have multiple questions about Copetti, because this is what we do. So I'll start. We'll stick with Russell for right now, but there's kind of a couple follow-ups that I'll jump around a little bit too. So Russell's version of the question is, who is better suited to start, and who is better suited as a super sub between Enzo and Patrick? I'll start with you, Matt.
I'm really, really torn on this because, make no mistake, I'm a big Patrick fan, but I think if it were me again for one more game, because I'm starting to lose patience with Enzo again, but I think for one more game, you start Enzo and you do exactly what you did this past match. You start Enzo, let him run, see if it can get going. He just needs to get going. So get him out there, see what he can do that first half. Come in at halftime, see where you are, and then you have Patrick, who is going to be hungry again. He might be catching fire. So look, you can have that. But at some point, Dean's got to make a tough choice and go with the hot hand, I would think. But I think that's what I would do for one more game at least.
Yeah. How about you, David?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, hell, I hope we can get our DP to be the one that's starting. I mean, we're paying him enough for it, right? But I have to kind of look back, and hindsight is 2020 here. But like, how different would the season be if Enzo took that first PK instead of Vargas and actually scored and had a little more
Mhm.
confidence? Like, where would we be at now, right? I mean,
Sure.
instead of going 6 games or 7 games with 0 goals, where would we be at? But I mean, case in point, like last week. Vargas scored a goal, was confident and scored and had a great game. If Enzo scores early, where would he be and what could he be doing differently? He just needs some confidence. And,
Yeah.
you know, I will say, which was great to see. I mean, he's obviously become a really good teammate in supporting his players because the minute that Pat scored that goal, guess who was the first one to come over on the sideline and jump on Pat's back when they first scored? It was Enzo, right?
Yeah.
So even though
Yeah.
Enzo got subbed out, he's down there celebrating with the guys, which is complete, 180 from last year when he was scoring and just walking away and doing his thing, right? So, I would start Enzo again,
Yeah.
hopefully to get him going because we really need him to be. I mean, even if we're going to sell him during his hard time, we got to have him to look good somewhat so we can sell him if that's the case. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I think I would keep starting him. And I agree with you. We talked about some in a previous episode too, David, of just the body language and energy. I feel like has been very different from him in a positive way. I mean, he still has his moments. I mean, them complaining about the offside call as he was being subbed out, yelling at everybody within earshot was he's like, okay. I mean, I agree with you. I see what you're saying, but like, let's just cool it a little bit. But like, I
Especially
mean, he
because
does
that
need
fourth referee is obviously going to make a difference right then, right?
right. Yeah, exactly. But like, he does. I want him to have a chance because like, obviously, he's shown he can score goals. Like he can do this. So like, I want to give him the full chance before we get to the summer and say, all right, are we moving on or not? So I don't want to start, pulling him and putting him on the bench and not giving him that opportunity. And again, like you have a great option bringing Patrick on as a totally different type of striker in the second half. If you need a little boost of some other kind, you've got that option out there. So I think that's still the best way to play those two.
Yeah.
And I thought it worked out pretty well in this match, the way they combined together. So. All right, I'll just give El Profesor a shout out for one of his questions because he kind of asked a similar question, basically saying, both Copetti and Brecht have been criticized lately. They both had an assist. What did you think of them? With Pat being our leading scorer, caveat, it's 2 goals. That's our leading scorer. Would you start him over Enzo? So maybe we've already talked about Enzo. Let's talk about Brecht maybe a little bit for this question. How did you feel about the way Brecht played? He didn't get the start, but came in, had an assist. Like, how did you feel about where he's at right now? We've been a little critical of him in some past episodes too. I can start with David this time. If David, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I would just say I want to see more of that. Like, I don't expect Breck to come in and be a goal scorer for us. I mean, if you look at his history as a player, I think his best season was like 6 to 8 goals scored or something like that. But he's had seasons where he's had 10, 15 assists, right? So that's what I want to see from him as a player is create, get whatever mojo, funk, whatever it is that he needs to get off and like get a connection with Abada and Enzo and Vargas and create up there in that top. That's what I want to see. It was great to see. I mean, he celebrated like crazy when he got that assist. Like you saw him turn around and he put his hands out like, yeah, like, when they scored. So that was awesome to see. Again, energy's there, feel good's good, but I want to see more of that, to be honest with you.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah, no, I agree, David. What I'd like to see some, and I don't know if this is by design. I think I think Vaughn may have touched on this during Soccer and Coffee. Brecht has a tendency to occupy space that someone else is in, kind of out wide. And I don't know if that's to kind of like try to open up the channels and kind of bypass that midfield or bypass him to get to Enzo or Patrick. But I'd like to see passes getting played to his feet in the middle and having him face up and then make a play or dribble, do something. There's not enough in the middle of the field, especially around like the top of the box type of stuff. I'm not seeing enough of that, and that's what I want to see more of. And he's the guy to do that. But sometimes I was watching the game and like he would be kind of floating in other people's space that I didn't like. And he's done that a couple times this season. So just maybe a little more positional awareness or maybe even a change in tactic there for him. But again, he's another one that I think next game you got to try to I would start him. I think maybe Dean wanted to just kind of do the opposite this time and maybe kind of send a point to Breck hey, we got Scott Arfield on the bench. You can't you got to produce.
Options.
So maybe again, it's good to have that competition. So
yeah, totally. All right, one last Copetti question. Chad Dellinger. Wow, I struggle with that last name. Chad Dellinger asks, "Is the Copetti experiment finally over?" This is really early to call it over to me, but is it over? What is the threshold of goals / direct goal contributions for a center forward DP to be labeled as an absolute disaster signing? I think I have a thought about where Chad's opinion is on this question, by the way it was worded, but either of y'all, I mean, I guess, yeah, I think we've answered this in past episodes too, but anything you want to add here, about his kind of future going forward with the team?
I mean, I'll just say I don't think the quote unquote experiment is over.
Right.
I think if he continues to be on a cold streak like he is now until summertime, then sure, you try your best to move on from him and sell him and do what you can.
Right.
But it's going to be awfully hard to do something with him if he doesn't show any signs of anything, right? So I don't think it's over. I think he could still be a really good player. He's shown he can do it in the past. He does make good runs. He does hustle, etc. The second part of the question, what would be the threshold to be labeled as an absolute disaster? I mean, scoring 0 goals as a DP striker, I think, would be a really good threshold to say that's a disaster of a DP. So that would be really bad this season if he goes into it with 0 goals. Would be really bad.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Matt?
Yeah, I think we've got this next game coming up, and we have a lot of home games. I think this is a really good opportunity for him to play at home in front of his own fans to get going. And if he struggles through this kind of block of games, then yeah, I think you've got to really start thinking about making a move. Do you start Patrick? Do you, maybe in this window? I don't know. This window's getting close to being done, so you're going to have to make a determination. I think this stretch of home games will be really telling, but hopefully we won't have a problem. He can get going, but yeah, this is the opportunity one of the best opportunities for him to get going.
Yep. All right, moving on from Copetti, but like I expected, I missed some of the defensive questions, so we're going back to the defense. So El Profesor, coming back to him, again, talking about Burnham Alanda, he asked a slightly different thing. So we finally took advantage of so many chances created and had a solid game, but despite all that, we had 2 goals against. In your opinion, who did we miss the most, Burn or Malanda? Was there one of them that you felt like not being in the lineup had more of an impact than the other? I'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, Malanda, right? I think that's the easy one for me because one, I like Jalen. I think he does great when he comes in.
Yep.
Bill had some, miscues like we've talked about. So yeah, Malanda is the easy one for me.
Yep. David, same.
Yes. Yeah, it's Malanda would be the one I would say. So yeah, I agree.
Love these. Next question. All right. All right. Last defensive question from Marcus Castro. Do we have an issue with the left back position? I thought this question was really interesting. I mean, I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts, and especially Matt's number 1 fan, Matt. Should JP be given a chance to play instead of Yuri? Let me start with David, just because I want to make Matt wait until he can come to the defense.
I'm gonna make this a very prolonged, and I'm just gonna filibuster here for the next 5 minutes. Make sure he just gets the stew on this question. Really want No, I'm just joking. So no, I don't think we have a left back problem. I think Yuri plays fine. So
yeah.
Now, I mean, I think Pedro played pretty well when he came in, when he got his moment to play earlier.
Sure.
When Yuri was on international leave, but no, I think he's played pretty fantastically for us. So I don't have an issue there. What do you think, Swift?
I mean, you know what I think. There's the left back. Give me a break. Come on, man. Marcus, no offense. Like, show me what you're talking about. Like, and even I think even when look, like every player's not going to have their best game every game, right? And there were a couple times in this match that Bernadeschi gave him some issues, but Bernadeschi is also one of the best players in this league.
Bernadeschi.
So
yeah, well, there was one time there where he crossed up Yuri really like early on, and it made him like almost really embarrassing. Got a goal early on, but it's Bernadeschi as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about this. Look who Yuri has to always guard. It's usually like the best side, the best players. He look what he did to Messi. Messi didn't do jack crap when he came here, and like Yuri's a big part of that. So, no, I don't think we have a left back problem. But to this question, thanks for asking it. Pedro was great. He'll get his chances. Yeah. Just I don't think we have an issue though, not at all.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, I'd be curious, like to Marcus too, like hit us up and like let us know what was there something. What are you seeing that makes you think this? I just be fascinated to know. Because I wondered if it was just some of the plays against Bernadeschi in this past game, but if he's seen something else, like I'm open to kind of hearing it. But yeah, I'd agree with the answers here. All right, a couple more serious soccer questions before we get into some of the other stuff, which is always fun. Thomas Hughes asks, where do you see Bender fitting in when he comes back? Matt.
Oh, I don't know, guys.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna spend some time with Legacy to rehab. But who would he come in for? I mean, if you go through the list, does he come in for Westwood? Does he come in for Gianni? Does he come in for Brecht or Arfield or Pekovic? Maybe you play him on the wing. Does he come in for Abada? Does he come in for Vargas? Is he over to Varsh? So who does he beat out? That's the thing. Like, so I think he's going to struggle to get back into the squad. That's not to say there's not a place for him. It's good to have options, but it's going to be really interesting just to kind of see where he fits in best, because we've used him all over the field, and that's an asset. And Ben's not a bad player at all, and I know some people absolutely love him, and that's great. But just I'm looking at the squad, I'm like, who does he overtake?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of go against the grain here a little bit, because like my instinct when I saw that question was like, I don't see him. But then I also was thinking here, well, what if Brett continues to struggle, and then we still don't have that creation, and like this window passes and we don't bring anybody else on? Like I want to be opposed to trying Bender there at the cam role, just to see what we can do if we still are struggling with a player like Breck or Scotty's not doing what we need him to do, right? But my instinct would be he's definitely not beating out Diani. He's not beating out Urso. He's not, he's not going to get back there as an 8 or anything like that. He's going to have to either be a winger or a cam.
Yeah, and our DP is probably going to be an attacking player. We think at least.
Yeah.
Brant Bronico's in the middle. Like, I mean, some people don't like Bronico, so yeah, you might have been, but like seriously, like it's going to be tough. Again, good problem to have. But we've had Scardinia on the bench. Brandon Cambridge is coming back. Like I just remembered him. Like, it's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough for Ben, and it might be something where we might have to move Bender on. I hate to say that, but it's going to be up to him to fight for position and make it.
What a difference 365 days make, because we were like, Brandon Cambridge is going to start at right wing, and Brant Bronico starting and Ben Bender starting, and here we are, like those 3 players are like they're not getting minutes right now. I mean,
that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, is to that point, like and Matt also saying it's a good problem to have. It's like Ben Bender's a good example of how this team is growing and improving across the field. Is that by just the circumstances of what the team was last year and the year before, he was the best option or one of the best options a lot of times to be on the field.
Mm.
But this team has grown and changed a whole lot since then, to the point where it's like, not that Ben's a bad player, and not that like I don't want him to be part of the squad in some way, and whatever
Right.
way they can find to like, have him make an impact. But like, yeah, I don't see who you take off to put him on. Even coming off the bench, like where does he rank of the bench players coming on? Like it's just hard to find room for him in that squad. So not a knock on him necessarily, but more of a show of like how the talent has grown around him. All right, so our next question comes from Chris Fickling. I'm just going to read this with a straight face, and I'm going to share my thoughts later. Chris Fickling asks, why did the supporter section allow the Wave to pass through it on Saturday? The Wave is not soccer. I worked hard to stop it in 103, and all my efforts were for naught. Be better. That's the tone I imagined that question in. So I just wanted to go ahead and give a dramatic reading of it. So, David, do you have any thoughts?
So I will say this: I am not a fan of the Wave either. So I know we were talking pre-game or pre-show about this. So I'm sure this is a little crossfire back and forth with Swift and Corey. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the Wave. To me, that means that the fans are bored in the stadium and that they're just dying for something. But I'll say this. And I agree with Greg Fenwick when he was talking about this in Slack. And so, Greg, if you're listening, I agree with you here that it means that the fans are dying to get involved some way, somehow, and they want to do something. And it is the easiest, most like thing for people to latch onto and see, and they do, right? Other than C, L, doing that kind of thing. So, like, to me, it's encouraging fans to get engaged, having fun. I'm not going to be like shitting on it, but I also am not a fan of it. So over to you, Swift.
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of the Wave, right? Because I'm there to watch soccer and do my thing, right? I don't want to even set up and do the thing. I don't want to do the Wave. Here's the thing, though. Yeah, people that are sitting in the supporter section, right? You're there, you're chanting, you're singing, waving flags, whatever you're doing. But that's not the whole entire stadium. You have people that are this their first game. You have people that are new to soccer. You have little kids. You have teenagers. You have moms, you spouses that are coming to games. They probably don't want to be there. Heaven forbid we do something that's fun, right? And like it's easy to crap on it because we don't like it and we don't feel like it's part of soccer. But now it's at like every sporting event. So as much as I don't like personally like it, I kind of like it because everybody kind of gets involved with it. And it may not be how you support the game and cheer and everything else, but like, I don't know, like people enjoy it. And again, like we're trying to encourage more people to come to games and have fun, just show up. And so that's why I'm kind of okay with it, but again, I don't like it, but other people enjoy it. So I'm okay with it. It's not that big of a deal.
Right. It's the Wave. Like I mean, I read it in that really sarcastic voice because I'm like, why are we getting this bit out of shape about the Wave? Like
There's a lot of people that don't like it.
I don't personally like it either. I don't generally do it. Like I don't join into it, but I'm also not like, how dare they? Yeah, the Wave's kind of silly and it's distracting from the game. You know what else is silly? Singing stupid songs in a big group and waving flags. It's all silly. Like fandom is silly. And I'm not trying to like knock the chance of singing. Like it creates the culture. But like if you really break it down to what it is, it's a bunch of people sitting there singing silly songs, and it's fun, and we enjoy it, and people get excited about it, and it sets this tone of the game. The Wave is a different way to do that. Like it's fine. Who cares if you don't like the chants, if you don't like the Wave, if you don't like it, that's fine. Do your own thing. Like that's your own thing. But like all the things we do in a stadium to cheer and create that environment are kind of silly to one degree or another. So like to be so like high and mighty, be better about doing the freaking Wave. Like give me a break. Like that's ridiculous. And like also like I had my 6-year-old there, you know, like I mentioned this earlier in the thing. Like she had a blast, like she wanted to be a part of it so bad, and she was having such a good time. So I'd lift her up so she could do the wave. Like it's not about you and all the dudes in the supporter section who are serious soccer fans. Like other people are there. Other people want to enjoy the game in their own way. And that kind of fandom is what I think really turns a lot of people off to soccer specifically, is this kind of gatekeeping fandom that supporters culture has sometimes. So I will
Corey,
stop
I just want to
now, but like that,
I just want to say
this question just really bugged me in a lot of ways.
I just want to say, how dare you say that that the Ashley Westwood to achy breaky heart chant is not serious, sir. Thank you. Okay, I'm just
it's
I'm
all
just
silly
joking.
and fun. It's like that's what I want to make the point to. I don't want people coming at me and being like, "Well, how dare you talk bad about these chants and songs people work so hard for?" I know both of you have worked really hard on the chants and the songs. I'm not trying to diminish that. I'm just trying to say, like, let's put it into context. Like, nothing we're doing here is like very serious. It's all fun. It's all silly. It's all part of going and enjoying a soccer match and having fun and having entertainment. So like to sit there and be like, I was working hard to stop it in section 103. Like, come on, man, give me a break. I'm done now.
Chris is a good guy, so I don't want to like throw him under the bus too much. But yeah, and there's a lot of people like in our Slack that get frustrated by the wave because they want people to really be engaged with the game and stuff like that. So I get it to a certain extent, but like to your point, Corey, everything's kind of goofy. Look at our mascot.
Yeah.
How damn goofy.
How dare you? How dare you say anything about Serpentine?
And it's amazing. And like we have a knight that comes out with a freaking torch. It's all very goofy and can be cringy. So but I don't know. I love it at the same time. And like, but yeah, sometimes we got to think about the new fans and other people coming to the stadium. So that's why I'm okay
with it. Can I ask one more thing? Are you able to wave a flag and watch the match at the same time? Yeah. So you probably put your arms up in the air at the same time, watch a match too, and still be engaged with the match. Sorry. Like, I don't, and to be fair, like, I don't know Chris, so like, this is coming from a different place. I don't know him personally, but like, this.
No, I don't think he's being sarcastic. I think he's a big soccer fan and
I'll also say this.
And he's not the only one. He's not the only one that's saying this.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I picked this question from Chris here, but there's been multiple people I've seen say the same thing about the wave, so he's not alone. And I'm one of them. I don't like the wave.
Oh yeah,
so
there's tons of people.
But I know.
But do you like act? But sorry, I'm just gonna keep harping this because this gets at something deeper that maybe we've talked about a little bit. Now I'll stop talking about it as much. But like, again, as someone who's not as actively involved in the quote unquote soccer supporter culture as you guys, like, you may not like the wave, but are you like actively trying to stop people from doing it? Like, is it ruining your experience at the match? Like, I just don't get why we're so been out of shape about this.
Nah, I just don't do it. I mean, if I'm in the supporter section, I just don't do it. It's fine. It's whatever, you know.
Let people
if it keeps going,
the way they want to enjoy it. Like, who cares? All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of supporters groups and all that supporter culture fun stuff, Esteban on Twitter asked, "What is with all these supporters group, quote unquote, days of our lives drama going on? Should Charlotte FC act and place a tight grip on these supporters groups who are trying to make it more about themselves to gain the football club's attention in order to be the preferred supporters group?" Matt, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do, and I appreciate the question. I'm not going to talk about the situation that has been going around the internet and social media and stuff like that, but I do want to address this question for sure. So thanks for asking it. So no secret, I'm a vice president of Mint City Collective. David was the former president. So I think we have to be careful sometimes when we make blanket statements about anybody or any group. I think, and I've said it on this show many times now, that you don't have to be in a sport group to be a super fan. Sport groups are not for everybody. but also too, people in support groups are amazing people, and they do a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't see. So when we say and make comments about groups and just support groups in general, you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are really good people. So I just caution people saying blanket statements. So the situation that happened was unfortunate, but it shouldn't reflect all the great work. It shouldn't supporter groups in a bad light, considering all the great work that we've done. And I just think it's a crappy situation. But again, there's a lot of great things that these support groups have been doing. So to kind of touch on this last part, though, should Charlotte FC act and place a tight grip? Like, support group culture is its own thing. It should never be run by the team, right? It should be led by the fans. So them putting a tight grip on there, I don't know if that means like sanctioning groups or whatever, but the team shouldn't be dictating what the groups are doing. And I don't think that groups are trying to make it all about themselves. There might be some individuals, but again, like these kind of blanket statements and comments, I don't like, and I don't think it's fair. So I just want to be careful with that. And like, people may not like me, and I'm the vice president of a group, but we have like 2,000 members. So even if you don't like me and you're like, well, this person does this and I don't like that group, like you're talking about a whole other group of people. So I just want to be kind of mindful of that. But I appreciate the question. I've seen Esteban here make some comments around, and I asked for questions, and he sent that in, so I wanted to answer it.
Awesome. We have some fun questions. We're running long, so I'm going to try to run through these quickly. Spencer Coop asks, what is the most random thing you have yelled during a match? I yelled Patrick so loud when he scored Saturday that I think my neighborhood is now concerned for anybody named Patrick. David, do you have one? I'm going to start with you.
I don't know if I would say like it's wild, but like I remember when we won the game last year against Miami and was able to go to the playoffs kind of situation, right? And I remember just shouting like, "There it is!" But like I don't know, there's nothing crazy about that. But like it's like you ever see Zoolander where they finally do blue steel and it's it's what's his name's the dad's like, "There it is, baby!" Like that's kind of what I did. So, but. No, I don't know if I shouted anything crazy other than, the typical hell yeah and, that kind of stuff. But what about you, Swift?
I don't think anything like weird, but I have noticed that I have to be careful what I say, especially if I'm at home watching a game and my kids around, because I was like, idiot. I'm not going to say who I yelled that to, but and then my son repeated it, and I'm like, oh boy, he's almost 3, so he's getting to that age where, and I talk a lot during games and like yell things and say things to myself. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just to myself. So I'm gonna have to be careful about that.
Yeah, no, I'll first of all agree with the being careful with kids around, because they get to that certain age where they're taking it all in. So even if they don't say it back to you right then, it's somewhere stored back there to be pulled out the worst opportune time. The one thing this is like I'm cheating a little bit on this question because I'm not saying one that I yelled, but one of my favorite ones was it was the first season. There's a guy that's in front of me who's hilarious. He's just amazing to sit near in a soccer match because he's funny and gets into it. So first season, when Josie Altidore came to play against Charlotte, he just the guy in front of me just throughout the match just would every now and then yell, "You're so old. You're just so old and slow." Just like repeatedly. Yeah. I mean, for 90 minutes, just out of nowhere, like you'd be quiet in the stadium. He would just yell that. And that was the most entertaining thing I've just seen yelled at a soccer match. So again, not mine, but it was random and quite enjoyable to witness that. So that's my story.
I really like that. That's awesome.
All right. Greg Fenwick. without Googling, what is a loon, Matt?
Oh man. So I still haven't looked this up, but it's a bird, right? It's like an egret type of bird.
Yeah.
And now an egret is a different bird than a loon, but I think they're close, I think. Does anybody know what an egret is?
Well, I think it's they're like seabirds of some kind, right? My only context for this is
like
that
that's what an egret is.
yeah, they're both seabirds. I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly which what, but isn't in or is it Finding Dory? Finding Dory, Becky, the bird that helps Nemo and Marlin. Wow, y'all giving me some very confused looks right now. So I'm just gonna keep rolling with this as if you've seen this movie 30 times, like I have. The bird that helps Nemo and Marlin get into the aquarium, Jewel of Morro Bay, California, as it's known, was Becky, and I believe Becky was a loon. So that's my context for what a loon is.
Okay.
You guys are really taking this very seriously and understand what it is. I have no idea, and like the only reason I know it's
serious.
I know, but like I know it's a bird because of the logo. But if you just ask me on the street, like, what's a loon? I'd be like, dude, I have no idea. I like a Looney Tune, like I don't know, like that's like the first thing that goes in my brain is Looney Tune. So I don't know. It just goes to show you where my 12-year-old brain is, but that's about it.
That's a good reference too. I like it. All right. Fat Bird, friend of the pod, Fat Bird, asks, why am I on Slack while cruising through the Caribbean? I'll answer that question first. Like, the point of doing a Caribbean vacation is to throw that phone in the corner of the room and never look at it. Don't get your international data plan. It's a way that you can avoid work because you just can't access work. And you definitely should be on the soccer Slack while you're in the Caribbean. But the more important question is, what's your favorite beachy drink? Because Fatbird says he will order it tomorrow thanks to his comprehensive drink package. So, David, you look like you have an answer to this. I'm going to go to you first.
I've got this. Don't worry, guys. I got this under control.
Wow. He's very confident about this. I've never seen him so confident about an answer. Wow.
So, and here's the thing is that I'm going to say this, and I don't even know if it's really like a Caribbean beachy drink, but like I'm going to say a hurricane. Like that to me, or a painkiller. Actually, I'm gonna take away the hurricane. I'm gonna say a painkiller is the beachy drink for me. My brother-in-law and sister lived in Key West for a few years. Whenever we'd go down there, my brother-in-law would make a painkiller for me every single time. And it's Key West. You can openly drink and just walk around. So I'm drinking that in Key West, walking around the entire time. So that's my 1A and 1B is a painkiller and hurricane are the two beachy drinks that I would do.
All right. Anything you want to add, Matt? Because I imagine Fatbird's not just gonna have one drink, so he can make like his menu for the morning at least. If you want to add another one to it, Matt.
Yeah, no.
He needs to have his brunch drink. So there you go.
Yeah. Do the painkiller, and if you can get your hands on chill beer, it's from Aruba. And you can absolutely crush those things. I had about 14 of those with Donnie's buddy Brandon on a trip to Aruba one time. They're pretty tasty. It's just like a light beer, and like you can just absolutely destroy them. So
there's a little small craft brewery that's called Red Stripe, and I think it's from the Caribbean. So I think. So Donnie, get a chill and then get a Red Stripe because it's from a small craft brewery.
It's the local hole in the wall spot everybody loves. Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, moving on.
Oh man.
Matt Chantry is back with a silly question. He says, which is the best quote unquote popular store in America today? Wawa, Buc-ee's, or Wegmans? Which I believe this is prompted by what they're breaking news today. I got like multiple email, newsletter, alert, emergency emails about Wegmans coming to Charlotte, which I think is an insane thing to say as a person who used to work at the newspaper who did some of these type of things. Like the fact you're sending an emergency bulletin about a grocery store, but that's also like that fits for Charlotte. Yeah, like we would want an emergency alert that a Wegmans is coming here. So anyway, Matt, what's your favorite? What's the best? I guess is the question. What's the
I've
best of
really
those
got to
three?
start. I don't know, because I've really got to get caught up on these stores, because I don't think I've ever been in a Wawa. I just recently went into a Buc-ee's for our trip to Nashville, and I have no idea what a Wegmans is. I know more what a Loon is than a Wegmans.
So I'm gonna answer the question in this, and sorry for my dog. He's getting really excited about this question in the background. But I'm gonna say the most American store is the popular. I'm just gonna say American because whatever is Buc-ee's. I've been to all three, and I would say Buc-ee's is the one that I would probably go to or shop at out of the three. Wegmans is cool, but it's like, I don't know. It's like Fresh Market on steroids. I don't know. Like that's the best way I can put it. So
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I've only been to one of them. I've been to a Wawa like twice, so that's my only reference. I don't get this into my grocery stores. So, all right. David's dogs are telling us the show needs to be over. So we're gonna run through a couple more questions. Russell, I'm sorry I have to skip your fun question. We'll have to bring that back later. Paul Hagen. Just a ridiculous question. Would you rather live the rest of your life with only one butt cheek or with 3 butt cheeks? David.
I don't know. Like I asked a clarifying question too. Of like, if we had the 3 butt cheeks, would we have 2 butt cracks? And
Right.
he's like, you have to figure that out yourself.
I have a lot of clarifying questions. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I would rather have the 3 butt cheeks, so then that way I have extra cushion to sit down versus the one, because I feel like if I only have the one, I'm gonna be lopsided. So that's my that's my answer.
Lopsided is a great line. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, try cheek over unicheek all day.
Yeah. That felt obvious to me, and I don't know why, but it felt like that was the right answer. Like there was just not a. Yeah, I had a lot of other questions, but that just felt the right answer. Okay, last question. Roy Coles. Would you rather fight prime Mike Tyson, so Mike Tyson in his prime, or 10 evil clones of yourself? And I appreciate Roy for like maybe answering some of our follow-up questions here, because in the parentheses he put, you're locked in a large room and can't escape until the fight is over, and the clones can't be reasoned with. Matt.
Oh man, I feel like 10 of anybody could do some real damage, but like I feel like Mike Tyson in his prime could, and I don't know if is this boxing gloves? Like I don't know, but I feel like he absolutely just murder you with one punch. I mean, like he could probably literally knock my head off in his prime. So I would probably rather fight 10 of me. And again, I don't know if this is clarifying like boxing gloves, but yeah, it just seems like a horrible idea to get in the ring with Mike Tyson.
David.
Yeah, I agree. Just prime Mike Tyson would murder you. Just like just point blank. If he like had to get in a fight, like he could just murder me. But yeah, I don't want to fight 60-year-old Mike Tyson like Jake Paul's about to do. Like I don't want to do that. So I would rather fight my 10 evil clones, because even though I can't reason with them, I at least know what their weaknesses are, because I know what my weakness is. Prime Mike Tyson is gonna just utterly destroy me in a room if I'm locked in there with him.
So here's my thing. I'm gonna pick Mike Tyson for the reasons you both just said. One, Mike Tyson would knock me out with one solid punch. Fight's over. Like it's just done. Like I'm knocked out. Okay, we're done here. So I think I'm gonna lose either way, right? So like let's just get it over with. Like knock me out and we're done. Cool. The 10 evil clones. Again, the keyword for me here is evil. They know all your weaknesses. They could make this like painful and torturous and drawn out. There's something that just feels like worse of 10 of that happening rather than just like Mike should come and just go and lights out and you're done. And if I have to pick one or the other, I'm picking that one. Like let's get this over with.
That's sound logic there, Corey. That's good.
All right, well, that's all the questions we have this week. A fun episode after a big win on Saturday. Got the Sunday night match coming up. Stay tuned for the preview episode for that coming later this week on all the places you find us here. If you want to talk with me about the Wave, I am not on Twitter, so good luck. Yeah, I'm on the other places.
He's on Threads. Send him a thread.
No, I'll calm down a little bit. And Chris, if we want to talk about the Wave, I'm more than happy to. I wasn't trying to call out him specifically. Just stuff like that gets under my skin sometimes. So I'm happy to talk about the Wave if we'd like to talk about that more. Anyway, thank y'all for joining us. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back later this week. Until then, I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.